I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
And welcome back to the Quarter Mile Podcast. I am one of your fabulous hosts, CJ, with the main guy of the hour, Drew, the Dude Davis.
I'm your less fabulous host, but just as happy to be here.
I feel like you're the dude of the year.
Thank you. Wow, we are only February, but I'll take it.
No. It's a lot going on. We just left. We just got through doing, what was the podcast we just got through doing?
We just did Redline.
We just did Redline. That was so much fun. Well, we had Andre here.
It was such a weird, I loved it though.
Such a weird one. And we love him. And we're definitely going to have him back.
Absolutely.
We're going to have him back. And so now we're going to be talking about our new movie, dun 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 dun, Hobbs and Shaw with
boom, 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 boom.
Bum, bum, bum.
I started that with no confidence, but I was like, I'll give it a fake air horn.
It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? With my little brother, I'm excited because this is the voice of Nashville. Y'all don't know him. Like, you don't know who this voice is, but his voice has been around. Like, it's amazing. It's the deepest voice you'll ever hear. Or the loudest voice you'll ever hear.
That's probably true.
So we're gonna give it up for Will Lasley.
I get it, Will.
In the building. So tell us who you are and tell us what is your connection to the Fast and the Furious.
So
I did that.
Loved it.
See that flourish.
So elegant. This episode feels like it should be on Shakespeare.
It's because it's Will.
A bit of filigree to it. Yeah, I mean, I've always been an entertainer at heart, and I love just experimenting in different corners of the sandbox. You know, I've done film, theater. I met you guys through stand-up. Past couple of years, I've been doing opera. But I love to entertain. I love to tell stories, and film was always my first love since I was a little kid. And so just talking about movies is something that just comes naturally to me. I really enjoy it. So when you guys, offer this up, I was absolutely, thrilled to be able to do this. I remember I didn't grow up with the Fast and Furious movies as a kid. When I first saw them, I think I saw the first one and thought it was good. I saw the second one and didn't like it as much the first. I thought it was fine. It was slicker. I like sort of what John Singleton brought to it. I like that.
Oh yeah,
his voice, really shone through. Then I think 3 and 4, it started to fall off a little bit for me. I started feeling like, all right, give me something new. Give me, mix it up a little bit. 4, it seemed like they were sort of starting to go the direction they eventually would.
Mm-hmm.
But 4, I think they were still asking you to take it a bit more seriously with 4. And I think, it helped certain scenes, but hindered others. The 5th one to me was where they kind of said, all right, this is the kind of movies we're making now.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's where they found their energy again. They found that spark that would really bring the fun back.
Yeah.
And make 6, 7, 8, 9 Hobbs and Shaw, like, give them that real sense of, come on, this is silly. We know it's silly. We know what you're here for. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun with it. Just that right level of ridiculous and owning it and owning the ridiculousness of it. And to me, that's kind of what made 5 on work.
Mm-hmm. And would you say 5 on you've been on board, or has there been a point where it's dropped for you?
Oh, good question.
I mean, there were some parts of 8 and 9 both that were a little bit. I don't care as much about the family soap opera, the Toretto family soap opera, as much as I do about the side characters, which is part of why I think Hobbs and Shaw is one of my favorites.
Oh, very cool.
Because I find, especially Deckard Shaw, I find him such a fun character.
One of the best in the series, one of the best characters.
I find him, I guess, more appealing than the Toretto family. Again, the Toretto family soap opera that I feel like
which especially by 9 and
I never
10.
even looked at it like,
Yeah.
yeah, they are a soap opera.
I guess the next one, what's it is going to be like Fast X Part 2?
Yep,
Like
they're not calling it 11. They're calling it
called
Fast
Fast
X
X.
Part 2.
Yeah.
I do,
And it's you could argue it's either the 13th in the series if you count Hobbs and Shaw, or you can argue it is like the 15th in the series if you count Turbocharged Prelude and
Right.
Los Bandoleros.
right.
I'm counting all of them.
Yeah, so their 15th movie is not even called 11. It's called X Part 2. I love the consistency to the inconsistency.
Right. Well, I remember people online saying, "Man, they missed the opportunity to call it Fasten Your Seatbelts."
Yep.
Like, how do you pass that up? That
I don't know. I agree though. I was
There's-
looking for that.
there's not a too corny for this
No.
series. It's not like it's like, okay, well, that would be too silly.
Yeah.
There's not a too silly for this.
No, in fact, the sillier it is, the better. And they are known for we'll eventually get to the movie we're talking about in a
Right.
second. But
Yeah.
they are known for listening to the crazy fan feedback
Right.
and being like, you know what? Like Fast 9 is just fan service. People are like,
It really is.
a lot of people say like, oh, that was like one of the worst ones. It was literally them just taking all the things they've been reading about people wanting the internet
Yeah.
and they brought Han back. They
Right.
took the car
Like
to space.
so they did like Gremlins too.
Well, yeah, they just
Exactly.
everything that anything and the Vin Diesel or someone's like, yeah, sure, let's try it, let's put it in there. So today we were talking about Hobbs and Shaw, and I don't know, I don't know if you guys know this, but this is a very significant episode in this podcast for a couple of reasons. One, literally the most requested movie because when
Really?
we put the word out that we were just doing the first 10 movies for season 1, everyone's like, well, what about Hobbs and Shaw? And literally when we were ranking the movies,
Okay.
people were like, we'd asked for the ranking of the 10 movies, and so many people put Hobbs and Shaw in and reminded us, like, and this is a movie you have to cover as well.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a plot device in that, like, I was like, we are going to cover that movie, but not till season 2. So, like, it was a bit of a twist. So, there's the fact that this is one of the most anticipated movie reviews we're doing.
Okay. Yeah.
But also, to get on a more somber note, this is like the last actually Fast and Furious movie network. After this one, we've covered every movie that Fast and Furious has offered.
That's
Oh, that's
right.
right.
I mean, we still got some more adjacent ones coming up, but like
right.
this is until they come out with Fast X Part
Yeah,
2.
baby.
This is the last one we're talking about legitimate Fast and Furious characters. We're not doing little, like tying the Italian job into
Right.
loosely it. Where
Right.
no, this is the last one, and like
Which there's a reference to in this movie.
oh, absolutely,
I love that joke
yeah, and that's why we covered the Italian job earlier because of this movie.
because of the meta reference. Yeah.
And so I feel like I've spent a lot of time with these characters. This movie came out in 2019, a year before the world stood still. It had a budget of $200 million and it made $760 million.
Okay. Good. I was
These
gonna say,
movies, if it's a
mean,
Fast and Furious movie, it's going to
right.
make a ton of movies.
good because I want a Hobbs and Shaw too. I know it's been,
I want to.
Love to
They-
see a Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
and I do want to talk about how they set one up,
Absolutely.
like
yeah.
kind of in your face, set one up,
Yeah.
and
Do we want to ask the main? Do you guys want me to ask the main throbbing question in my heart right now that involves the sequel? Do you guys want me to?
Yes.
Okay. So who is the voice?
we all know.
I mean, we know. Do we all know?
Oh yeah, I clocked it during the movie.
Who was it?
It was Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's literally played by Ryan Reynolds. It's literally
Yeah,
his voice.
I caught that during the movie. I was like, oh, so is that going to
Yeah.
be the twist at the end? But they didn't.
They didn't. And
I need Ryan Reynolds.
I would love. I think Ryan Reynolds is the best pick for that series,
Yes.
especially since they're hopefully they kind of go adjacent, but not with the Fast and
Right.
Furious movies. Because and that's another thing we're going to talk about later is you can't talk about a Hobbs anything in Fast and Furious without getting to the Vin Diesel at Hobbs.
Oh,
No.
Oh, like
we gotta talk about this.
listen, and if you all are listening and you just want the drama, you just want the beef, let me suggest these episodes. We start talking about it in Fast 5, our 5th episode of the podcast. We get really into it in Fast 8, and by the end of our because that's when like a lot of it really happened.
Right.
And then we'll cover some more of it at the end of this episode. So if you're here for the Rock Vin drama, don't worry,
Yeah.
we got you. The voice and who it might be. So the obvious pick is Ryan Reynolds, but there's some other theories. One is there's so much of Fast and Furious teases the possibility of Mr. Nobody being the main antagonist. He's been gone for the past 2 movies, and
and
they always suggest that maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always down for more Kurt Russell.
Honestly, yes. But also another suggestion they make is that it is Jason Momoa, Dante.
Interesting.
Ties into the end of Fast X.
Right.
And there's also been speculation, but very unconfirmed,
Yeah.
that the next Hobbs movie
Yeah.
would be Hobbs and Dante, where they finish up the Dante storyline.
I
And
would be
then
down with
then
that.
Fast X Part 2 is the quote unquote go back to the basics and gets back to street racing and a more basic plot line to wrap up the series.
Yeah.
And so Jason Momoa's character is actually the villain for the next Hobbs movie is what they're suggesting.
I'd be okay with that. He was the best part of. He was the best.
He
part
carried the
of Fast
movie. Fast X.
The
Fast X was rough for
The
me.
Tea Party scene.
Yeah,
I mean, was
absolutely
glorious.
So.
That was anytime he was on screen, I was delighted.
Absolutely.
Anytime he wasn't, I was like, okay.
It was a rough movie. It was if you listen to our Fast X review, it's the only Fast and Furious movie review where everyone present is in agreement that it is a bad movie. I defended all 9 of them up until that one, and I was like, it lost me.
I will defend its watchability at least. I will defend at least giving it a single watch just for Momoa.
So the cast of this movie, obviously, we have The Rock and Jason Statham. They are the main guys. We know them enough from their movies,
right?
And then we have Idris Elba, who he was my his character and him was my favorite in the movie.
Oh, I loved it.
We might know him from other things such as The Office and Knuckles. Those are what I think of. There's probably other things as well. But what else? What are more notable Idris Elba? Those when I think of Idris Elba, those are the first things I think of.
My dreams. No, I'm just kidding.
She's CJ's new husband.
The 2 widest examples.
The Office, yes.
I mean, I love it. Like, I love both of those.
I literally can't not think of what do you play in The Office, Chuck or something like that. Like, it was
Yes,
just
he did.
so, yes. So no matter in this movie, he is such a badass.
Heimdall in the.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then Luther.
Luther, yeah.
Luther,
the British crime show.
I don't know if I've seen that.
Oh, it's good.
Good. It's. I mean, if you like a good old fashioned, British murder show. It's
love it. Yeah. So who doesn't? This movie also had Vanessa Kirby, who's soon to be Sue Storm.
I'm excited about that.
She did well. I don't know. I know she's like a bigger deal than I know. I don't know her in a lot of stuff. This is kind of when I think of her. This is what I.
Well, she's also in the new Mission Impossible movies, and she's great in those too. Yeah. The new Mission Impossible movies are fantastic. I mean, like,
I'm going to be honest with you. I have not seen them.
I honestly like the 4th one. Is a masterpiece. 5 is good. 6 and 7 are both like.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, they're Mission Impossible. We're gonna do
those.
We literally have so many ideas of what we're gonna do. We're gonna like this podcast is never ending. We're eventually gonna be an episode a day, and it's just a different movie. And then the last cast member I was gonna go before we talk about more about this movie. And I just feel like she had such a small part in this movie, but like you can't talk about anything Shaw related and not bring up Mama Shaw, Helen Mirren.
Dame Helen Mirren. I mean,
she is. And whenever you bring up Dame Helen Mirren, you also have to talk about how she single-handedly, with Vin Diesel, has the most on-screen chemistry with this man.
She does.
When you see them, and I think it's Fast 9.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is awkwardly creepy how into each other.
Because she's sexy.
I was gonna say if they're not doing fast extracurricular activities,
she's a good-looking woman,
then they should be. So.
I mean, Helen Mirren.
That's a good-looking woman now.
Okay, listen, she's fine. I don't have the same. Maybe it's the age, but like
that's fair.
But what's funny to me though is when you watch Vin Diesel with her, you're like, oh my, there's something.
There's like, okay, this guy definitely watched Excalibur alone in his room.
Absolutely,
he wore out that VHS tape.
Yes, he did.
But yeah, speaking of movies with Helen Mirren, we're Hobbs and Shaw. Will, you get the honor of doing our AI plot summary today. Our plot summary is in the voice of Jason Statham.
Oh, I'm so excited!
Shaw, and Will himself is a very good voice actor and does wonderful impressions. In fact, I feel like when I think about your stand-up, I think about your impressions.
That was kind of the one. Stand-up was kind of the one thing that I think got me any attention.
Yeah.
Well, that and when I would say something, I guess, politically controversial, it would piss.
Oh yeah.
But when I think about you performing, I think about the impressions you did. So that's why when we did this, I was like, I want to try to get it in a fun British voice because I need you're the guy for it. So
I was very glad that to do this one because Statham was probably the only one of these guys that I feel like I can do a decent enough impression of. Like I can do a little bit of Vin Diesel, but more just enough to make fun of Vin Diesel, not really enough to actually recreate his voice.
Where is Vin Diesel from?
Nobody knows, but probably he's either Italian or Cuban.
Yeah, something.
There is nothing.
It's
look it up.
He has a documentary about how like he's racially ambiguous and
because
the struggles that came with it, but also how he uses it to his advantage.
Because he passes for white, but he's like such a melting pot.
I think he's got some black in him. I think.
Yeah, I think there's.
I think. Yeah.
Well, he has a very white name,
Marcus
Sinclair.
Yeah,
Mark Sinclair.
Yeah, that's the whitest thing about Vin Diesel.
His name.
I just feel like, listen, I know he's had his issues with like The Rock. I feel like he's also caused some issues when directing these movies with the confrontation with The Rock and other actors.
Yeah.
And I like to think there's an exec somewhere like, listen, Mark,
Yeah.
when you just settle down.
Listen, Mark.
That's
Mr. Sinclair, take a seat.
that's when they call him to the office. Is Mark Sinclair, get your ass in here right now.
Oh no, so I know I'm in trouble.
Oh no.
All right, Vin Dieselisms aside, Dieselverse aside, let's get this AI plot summary going on.
I want to hear this.
You wouldn't believe the twisted tale that unfolded when
I'm not going to be able to do this.
one and only Deckard Shaw had to team up with Luke Hobbs, the brawny bald-headed brute. Picture it. Two men who'd rather eat glass than share a pint suddenly in cahoots to save the world. That wasn't just any mission. It was the mother of our punchlines. It all started when my dear, sweet, brilliant sister Hattie, who's a top MI6 agent, went ahead and got herself into a bit of a pickle. And by pickle, I mean she injected herself with a deadly virus, Eton, designed by the high-tech terrorist organization ETO, as if family reunions weren't awkward enough, right? Enter the cyber-genetically enhanced villain, Brixton Law. Think cyborgs on steroids. Brixton's got a god complex and a high-tech gizmos to make James Bond blush. He's got the virus and now he wants to unleash it on the world to upgrade humanity. Or as I like to call it, a tech support nightmare. Naturally, Hattie's capture got us put on Etion's radar, so my old pal Hobbs and I had to join forces. From London's foggy streets to Chernobyl's radioactive wasteland, we were on the go. The sarcasm was thicker than a Yorkshire pudding, and the punches were harder than a bad pint of ale. Along the way, we managed to blow up a few cars, well, more than a few, and introduce Brixton to a world of pain. With Hobbs' brute strength and my irresistible charm and brains, he was a real blockbuster of brawn meets brains. Then there was Samoa, Hobbs' home turf. I thought I was being invited to a quaint beach holiday. Turns out I was in for a tribal throwdown. We had to go old school, rigging up the fences and summoning the villagers' warriors, because Etion's goons were hot on our trail. Nothing says welcome to the family like a Polynesian smackdown. With a bit of vehicular choreography and some physics-defying stunts, we finally managed to turn the tide. Hobbs and I double-teamed Brixton. Google that one too, actually. Because let's face it, teamwork makes the dream work, even if it's a nightmare of cooperation. We deactivated the virus and saved Hattie, because no one's messing with my family without paying the ultimate price. A front row seat to my wit and charm.
Great, perfect, good job, Will.
Hope that was a passable enough Jason Statham.
Super passable.
That was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm literally texting my friend, like, bruh, you need to listen to like.
Yeah. That is yeah. I'm gonna tell everyone who's listening and not watching us that we had Jason Statham on the podcast. It was great. Well, before we get into our opinions about this movie, I want to read the many opinions from the fans on Reddit.
Okay.
Fans of Fast and Furious typically aren't as big of fans of Hobbs
Really?
and Shaw.
Really?
There's some that get into it.
Okay.
I got many 1 to 2 word answers. So these were the 1 word answers I got, or 2 words occasionally. It ranged from terrible, garbage heap, unwatchable, lame, forgettable, horrible, or worthy, entertaining, and good.
Worthy.
Worthy.
Someone was like,
Worthy.
worthy, yeah. What a compliment from a weird person.
I mean-
right? Like, you know that by that person, just the fact that they chose the word worthy, you know, that's not a word they aspire to a lot of things. This person, who's Machamp 2021, he gave his feedback, which was stupid, but 100% fun and entertaining. And you know what? I'm with you, Machamp, and I like your choices in Pokemon.
Fair. I mean, if you're going to be a Reddit user named after an all brawn, no brains Pokemon, I mean, that sounds like
Sounds like Machamp would enjoy. He would be a good co-star in Hobbs and Shaw.
I'm surprised.
Play Hobbs.
I'm surprised he hasn't been in franchise already.
Yeah, give it when they do a Pokemon Fast and Furious crossover, it'll happen. So Daryl 772,003 says, "I really liked it, but that mysterious leader of the Etion tease better result in something down the line."
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about, we had our theories on that. Well, that's the fun part of the movie. Who is that person? We don't even know.
Well, and the thing is, we That's what I'm curious about, because we do know who actually did the voice.
Yeah.
Like we know that.
What were you gonna say?
No. I was gonna say, like, at first I didn't know who did the voice because it didn't click.
Yeah.
It didn't click at first for me.
Well, I didn't know until I
It's on
read
IMDb.
that it was Ryan.
Now you know I'm not gonna go look at IMDb first. Now,
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And then this last fast fan feedback said it's a great mindless action flick. I'll throw it on when I'm cooking sometimes, only half paying attention, but it's great. I just love the idea that someone who's a culinary chef is like, you know what my good cooking movie is? Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
I know why that person is doing that. Two good-looking crazy men in the movie.
And something about that makes you want to whip up a good spaghetti.
Yes, or mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah, that's random people's opinions.
Yeah.
And we love your random opinions. Thank you, people. This
Absolutely.
is always a friendly reminder. Whatever you're listening to us on, whatever you're watching us, drop us a like, a comment, a subscribe, a rating. We also keep up with us on our socials, the Quarter Mile Podcast. We always ask a couple weeks before we do the movies your thoughts on whatever movie we're about to review. And then that's how we get them to share them here. So if that's something you care about, come hang out with us. Join the conversation off the podcast. What do you guys think? Let's get into the Hobbs and Shaw of it all.
I liked it. Hey, I'm biased. I don't like anything with The Rock in it.
Okay.
You know, I'm sorry. It just, I know he should not be acting, but he honestly turned out to be a decent. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm
You know what I mean?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm kind of going, okay, I'm following you.
Like, he's turned out to honestly keep me entertained. Is he Meryl Streep and Denzel in it? No. But he's on his own.
He's got his own thing going. He's Dwayne Johnson.
He's Dwayne Johnson, and I am not mad at what he's doing. So it was a good movie. Like, I really do agree with that woman. I'm gonna put this movie on when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
Yes, this is my cooking movie.
The cooking movie. Thank you. Who was that? That was Kind of Like Acoustic. Thank you, Kind of Like Acoustic.
Kind of Like Acoustic. What is it? What did you say? Kind of like acoustic?
Yeah, like acoustic guitar.
Kind of like acoustic. Hey, I'm with you. This is when I'm making some meat, my hors d'oeuvres. This is what I'm putting on because I know they're gonna come out right because I got my movie on in the background, and I know somebody might be cussing. I know Jason is gonna give me one of them good hard lines, and I'm gonna try to repeat it to somebody. You know, I know The Rock is gonna have them arms out.
That's a good Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. I really like this one. Honestly, if it weren't for Fury 7, the way that they handled the whole Paul Walker thing, if it weren't for that, like, tribute at the end, this might end up being my favorite one. Like I said, I've always found the side characters to be the more engaging ones in this franchise. And so giving them a spinoff, I thought was a lot of fun. And the director, David Leitch, who he was the uncredited co-director of the first John Wick.
Yeah. Deadpool?
Well, he directed Deadpool 2, and he also directed Atomic Blonde.
That's a good one.
And last year he directed The Fall Guy, which was really good.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. He sure did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, yeah.
But he's a former stuntman, and so he knows how to do action really well, and he's become one of those, stuntmen can end up being really good action directors.
Yeah.
Wish I wasn't such a punk. I would be a stunt.
Yeah, would you? I would never, and I'm okay. I would, if I was an actor, I would justify always having a stunt person. I mean, the real reason because I don't want to do the stunts, but I would be like, I'm helping create.
Cynthia Erivo did her own stunts.
Well, and that's one of the things that
Cynthia, she did her own stunts in Wicked.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's cool.
Her own stunts.
Well, that's one of the things I know that Danny Trejo has said is, especially as he's gotten older, he's like, he's not afraid to use a stunt double.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to call, I think he said something like, I'm not going to call someone a job just to say I got big nuts. Like, something like that. It's like,
I wonder, though, if you get, do you get paid more if you also do your stunts?
I don't know.
That's a good question. We should ask Jackie Chan.
Yeah, it's probably a contractual
next week when we have him on the podcast.
Right.
I don't know, but gum well, Danny Trejo needs to stunt double because he needs to be protected.
Protect that man.
All costs.
Protect Machete.
Protect
Machete.
He's the softest, kindest man in the world.
Oh, man. I really like this one. I find this one really fun. I like the fact that there's a moment in it, one of the scenes in Samoa, where Patty is like in, I guess it's like Hobbs' like childhood bedroom or whatever, but you've got posters on the wall, and the movie posters on the wall. One of them is for 48 Hours. One of the greatest buddy cop movies.
Yeah.
One of them is for the movie Cobra, Stallone classic.
Yeah.
Cobra. And to me, that is the biggest indicator of the tone this movie is setting. Cobra is quintessential, big, ridiculous, and just a hell of a time.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it's one of those, it's like with Commando.
Yeah.
Or
this is a real like action hero movie.
it is.
I think so.
And it's the kind of movie that like Statham excels.
Mhm.
This is his niche. This is he can again when he does stuff like Crank or The Expendables or The Mechanic or Transporter. It's just let him do his thing and put him in a chaotic situation and let him go.
I think he's one of the fun. He's also funny. Like
He is really funny.
funny.
Yeah,
really funny dude.
Well, and like I mean his
timing of his lines.
Yeah.
That's what.
And that's why I like him and The Rock together. That's why him and Hobbs go well
Yeah.
together.
they have such good chemistry and
I loved that first scene where they were just roasting each other. That was
It's your face.
It's your
Your
face.
big stupid face.
Just makes my balls. I want to drag my balls across.
Picture this now. All right, well, I'm gonna be the Debbie Downer. I'm gonna be the guy. There's always got to be one on the episode. I do like it. It's a fun action movie, but when I marathon the Fast and Furious movies before a new movie comes out, I don't put this one on. There's a few things that seem weird to me about it. I will say that I will have fun watching it. Like I rewatched it today, and I enjoyed it. I've always felt like this about the Hobbs character in the Fast and Furious movies, in that the more we have of him, the less I like him. I thought he was in 5. He was the antagonist, and I liked that role.
Yeah,
they put him a ton into 6, and like I remember when we reviewed that movie, both me and Bailey were like, every time he opens his mouth, it makes me want to just punch him in the face. 7, though, he got injured at the beginning of it, and he came in at the end. He had 2 like big action hero moments, and like flexing to bust out the cat, breaking a drone with a ambulance. I mean, like this is peak Rock, like I like that stuff.
Yeah.
I just feel like when you put it in the continuity of the Fast and Furious universe, this movie is happening after the events of Fast 8. In Fast 8 is when Jason Statham's character, Deckard Shaw, is when he helps out and joins the team for a common goal. And in that movie, there is a lot of confrontation between Hobbs and Shaw, but through that movie, Hobbs learns that Shaw was set up. He's not as bad as you've been led to believe. And at the end, they do have like a kind of connectional where they a respect similar to how Toretto and Hobbs do in the movie. And then right from the beginning of Hobbs and Shaw, it's like they undid all of that. Like, I'm not working with this guy. I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
even though
they hated each other.
Even though they referenced the fact that they already worked together. But so like at the end of 8, it was like kind of like a literally a family barbecue moment where they're like, we're cool. And then so that kind of took me off guard a little bit. My biggest question, maybe I missed it. That's why I'm glad there's 3 of us. Aside from at the very end when he says, "You made me kill my brother," do they ever reference Owen Shaw, Deckard Shaw's brother? Because the whole movie, when they're working to save the sister, when we see Mama Shaw in prison, the whole time I'm like, "Where's Owen Shaw?" He was like the big bad in Fast 6. He was part of Fast 8, and then the whole time I'm like, "What's he up to?" And then at the end, that's something like, "You made me kill my brother," to Brixton.
Yeah.
Yet there's another hole.
What?
That's fair.
I can't think of it.
This is and then this is the biggest issue, and maybe we'll allude to it a little more when I read some of the trivia
that's a good
and stuff
question.
like
I'm gonna have to go back and watch again.
Well, you watched Redline 3 times.
I did. You're right.
Also, this movie's really long. I think they could have cut 30 minutes.
It's a little long.
Just fine.
It's a little long. Yeah.
220.
Yeah. Is
it
215, 220? Yeah, it's close. The entire movie felt like a Rock ego trip to me.
You know what? And that's one thing I was going to get into.
Yeah. It just feels weird
because
it feels like it is part of the family, but it feels like the weird cousin who you're like, I guess I have to hang out with him.
Well, that's part of why. That's part of why when I was talking about how much I love it, why I was only talking about Statham.
Yeah.
Because I was going to get into one of my criticisms is, and again, Dwayne Johnson, he's good in it because he's doing kind of his one thing he knows how to do, and it lets him, it lets him stay in his lane and kind of smirk and quip and flex. I'm sure he's a pleasant person to be around. He definitely thinks highly of himself.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of what
you can see from his movies how that's grown over
Well,
the
and
years.
I mean,
I feel like
I think the crown jewel of it all was Black Adam.
absolutely. Yeah.
Was just of the sort of
I'm bigger. I should only be fighting Superman.
yeah, and it's and no,
The last critique I'll have of
yeah,
The
yeah. Go
Rock
ahead.
is, and this is something I've always said about Hobbs' character.
Yeah,
When they brought his character in on 5, I was totally digging the character.
yeah,
But his whole attitude of being a lawman
yeah.
and being, I don't even like at one point in Fast 5, he says, I don't care who they are. Who they are is a name on my table, and I'm going to bring him in. That was his whole attitude in 5, and then you see a shift in 6 where somehow he becomes okay working with the criminals. That he was like the cliffhanger at 5 was, I'm gonna find you. I'll see you soon, Toretto. That's like his main tagline. And like then he's like okay working with him, and then you see him, and I guess the Fast and Furious mythology of like, well, a connection of family, and Vin Diesel changed his mind and his heart, which is kind of hokey to me. But
but it's a hokey
it's-
series.
yeah. But in this movie, the fact that he's like getting to know Hattie so well before they're working together when he's bringing her in, like Fast 5 Hobbs would have not cared one bit who she is.
I was going to say
and would brought her in.
Yeah, to me, one of the biggest things that brings it down is the forced romance.
Oh gosh, yes, their chemistry was. He even makes a joke. We don't have any chemistry. I'm like, that's not a joke.
Yes, it's like that's yeah, we know. And I love Vanessa Kirby. She's really good in the movie, I think. And one thing that I noted was there was a very easy, not fan service, but I guess sort of cheap titillation that they avoided, which is they managed to show her in the rain and they don't have her nipples poke out through the shirt. Like that's one of those things that movies do all the time. When you've got an attractive woman and it's raining, we got to do the and it just.
I remember she's hot. Yeah, that's why you should watch this movie.
hey, remember those?
Yeah.
But the fact that they didn't do that,
we've got a movie,
right?
Yeah, there we go. They didn't give it the red line treatment, right?
Did not. You know. I'm not going to go back to that movie.
I watched a bunch of the bonus features as well. They talked about how it was very important for everyone involved to make her on their level and to make that character formidable.
She was okay.
So okay.
She didn't wow me. She didn't.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't wowed or anything. I just feel like she certainly wasn't the damsel in distress.
No.
I liked that she wasn't.
Yeah, that she was the one who actually saved their asses a couple of times.
Yeah.
At the end, it kind of felt like it was a communal effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, that was,
that was the whole point of the movie.
Yeah, it was.
Which one? I keep saying I'm done with critiques. I have one more critique, but I'll start it off. I'll start off with a compliment. Yeah. My favorite part of the movie, and I already said this, was Idris and the character of Brixton. I thought he made for a fantastic, over-the-top Fast and Furious villain. I would even put him higher than a lot of the other Fast and Furious villains if I was to rank them.
I love him.
And like he was a fun character. It was, I mean, ridiculous, absolutely. Yes. But like, this is that kind of movie. It's an action hero movie. We don't need
Superman.
Yeah. That being said, what a design flaw for his weakness to be like, oh, if they hit me at the same time, my computers can't process it.
Yeah, that's fair.
It seems like someone who's smart enough to make that kind of technology.
That's fair. I mean,
but it was helping you understand the overall theme of the movie about them learning to work together.
It was literally the only way to defeat him was they both have to work in tandem. And so it was that kind of,
and one had to get hurt while the other one.
Right. It was almost like a saw trap. Like they had to learn the lesson.
Yeah.
And
that was everything was getting to that whole movie. I did the phrase that it's just there were so many things where The Rock was trying to be Vin Diesel in this movie. There's where he's like, you don't need technology. We got hurt.
Yeah.
Okay,
Captain Planet. Let's.
You were one word away from family in that moment. Like that. Like it's like we got people.
Yeah.
It's okay though. It's but it was a fun.
It's all about relatives.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's about.
Yeah. They totally recast his daughter at the beginning from the girl that was in the previous movies. And the whole reason was they wanted the daughter to be older than who the actress was.
Oh.
But like that kind of bothers me because one of the fun things about Fast and Furious is they always bring back the most doesn't matter how big or small, they always bring back the actors. There is kind of like a family feel to that cast.
Yeah.
And can you imagine being that little girl who's been in 3 movies? and been like, I'm part of the Fast and Furious franchise. And then The Rock gets a spin-off movie, and they're like, oh, but we're going to recast his daughter, who's had speaking roles in the past too, and was referenced.
That's horrible.
That didn't even occur to me.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize.
that was right, and it's not that big of a deal in the overall movie. She doesn't have a big role, but right as soon as I saw the little girl, I was like, that's not the same little girl.
Hashtag not my.
See that damn movie magic. That damn movie magic. That freaking movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What do you think, CJ? What do you think? Any thoughts?
I really did enjoy when they would go back and forth when they were in jail. When he got put in jail, when he got arrested.
Yeah.
That was fun for me.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was fun for me.
Well, here's some trivia.
Yeah. Let's get into the trivia.
Some fun.
And I have some as well that I'll.
I love it.
That's it. Just
First time in Quarter Mile podcast history, the guest brings his own trivia, and
that.
I'm all for that.
I got the movie trivia autism. So some people get the math kind. I get the movie trivia.
Movie trivia, yeah. The people listening to the podcast know this about me if they've already listened to the previous episodes. You all may not know this about me, but the only thing I like better than Fast and Furious is the Fast and Furious beef between Vin Diesel and The Rock. It is so over the top ridiculous.
It really is.
You could prove to me tomorrow that it's all made up, and I would still have just as much fun with it.
Because
it's like
it feels like a wrestling storyline.
It really feels so
because it is.
It is either the most brilliant thing they've ever done, or proof that they're the most like dumb alpha male.
It's the pettiest.
But either way,
because they're really not get along in real life.
I have no idea.
Either absolutely not, or because The Rock has like the wrestling background and knowing how when you have to have a heel and
really does
or they are playing everyone in the media.
Yeah,
but
they don't play me because I just they.
But anyway, so here's some trivia. Deckard Shaw is about 2 years older than his sister Hattie. In reality, Jason Statham is 21 years older than Vanessa Kirby.
Did not know that. Okay, keep going.
Fun. Fun little one. You could do this one day when you're in a big motion, when you're in like Fast 400.
Okay. Jesus.
Well, they're going to keep going, and so you'll be eventually. Dwayne.
It's all about grandkids.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Dwayne Johnson's French bulldog Hobbs. Also, let's take a breather and recognize the fact that he named his dog after his TV character.
That was in one of the bonus features.
That's hot.
His French bulldog Hobbs made an appearance in the beginning of the movie when he was lying on the bed when Hobbs was doing push-ups on the floor. This is like kind of the scene.
That's right.
There was a scene where they're showing the ball game, and that puppy was really The Rock's dog. So this movie was the last Fast and Furious film written by Chris Morgan, who's written every film since the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
So yeah, he's been, there's other writers, he's been part of it since Tokyo Drift, which means he hasn't been part of 9 and 10, basically. But he's done, and I guess the first two, but like,
yeah.
So
okay.
His writing style has had a hand in all the majority of the series. So that's kind of cool. Like I don't think about the random writers in the movies, but like
I do.
He's been in it since I think Tokyo Drift was like 2005. So
yeah, so that's cool.
It was.
Yeah.
So one that ties into the beef. Do you know about the casting beef?
Is this with Jason Momoa?
Yes.
Yeah. That was you go into. That was the first one. We're going to drop that in.
Momoa was The Rock's top choice to play his brother, but he couldn't do it because of a scheduling conflict. And I thought Cliff Curtis was great. I like him as an actor.
That's pretty cool.
But he was like, all right, well, we'll save him for this next Hobbs and Shaw movie. And then Vin Diesel goes around and casts him in Fast 10.
Okay, they don't like each other.
No, they
because you got to think of like, okay, there's only so many like A-list Polynesian actors. And Taika Waititi's not exactly going to be doing a Fast and Furious.
What's the wrestler?
Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
he was in Hobbs and Shaw.
I forgot.
See, I kind of missed who he was in because I remember Roman Reigns, but I don't like visually remember him. And so, who was he in this movie? I missed who he was.
I forget the character's name, but
me too. I forgot he was in it because I was like, that show do look like. Wow.
Was he one of like the Polynesians?
Yeah, he's one of the like cousins or whatever that gets some of the big fights.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I knew he was in the movie. I was kind kind of looking for him, but I was also multitasking when I was watching this movie. This movie doesn't hold my attention, even though I enjoy it. Like I'll watch it and like it's going on for so long that I'm like, okay, I literally was like sending emails and texting and updating social media while I was watching. But honestly though, this is still like the 5th time I've seen this movie. So even though I haven't seen it at every rewatch, I've still seen it more than I should.
Ryan Reynolds is not credited, but he is. I wouldn't even call him a cameo. He's kind of a supporting character.
I agree. He's at least 2 parts. He's the voice, but then he's also his character. And Kevin Hart had appearances.
Yeah, I was going to say
I liked his
Kevin
part
Hart,
too. Yeah.
But
I love it when you see friends of people in different movies. TJ, I don't remember which movie we were talking about, but it was one of the recent ones where we were just talking about. It's fun to see the different actors who work with the directors, and then you see them in different roles. It might have been during Better Luck Tomorrow, which that is the whole fever dream. But I think that might have been it because we were referencing Justin Lin and the characters that are in like Tokyo Drift, but they were also in Better Luck Tomorrow. But they're also in like different Fast and Furious movies. This is a bit of a narrative, but it fits in with our Rock versus Vin Diesel. Which, if you guys want to hear more about that, again, our 8th episode is when we really read all the people's opinions about it, and then we reference it on our 5th episode too. The idea of the Fast and Furious spin-off featuring Hobbs and Shaw first emerged during the filming of The Fate of the Furious, 2017.
I knew about that.
Yep. After producers and studio execs took a note of the comedic chemistry between the two throughout their scenes together, plans to actually develop the spin-off were informally greenlit toward the end of the filming. They were later revealed to be the reason behind the much-discussed animosity between Vin Diesel and The Rock in the final weeks of production, which resulted in Diesel reportedly canceling some of Johnson's scenes and not showing up for filming at all for at least 1 day of production, leaving hundreds of casts and crew sitting idly by. After news of the spinoff became public, co-stars Michelle Rodriguez and Tyrese Gibson publicly criticized it for damaging the Fast and Furious family, super family related of them, as they were pushing back the release of the 9th movie. At least by a year. Johnson would subsequently quit the main franchise, opting not to return for the 9th. This is an old fact because it says the 9th, 10th, and the 11th movie, but he eventually did
post credits for 10.
Although, and probably because he got paid a ton of money for it.
I remember that was my first thought when I saw the movie. I was like, oh, I guess they paid enough money.
Also, Dwayne did return. Well, we already talked about the scene. Dwayne said that he has plans to make a second and final standalone Hobbs movie in which the audience would get to see his character walk off into the sunset. So we might get a second one. But we've heard some interesting things as to whether it might be Hobbs and Shaw 2. It also might be Hobbs and Dante, where it brings back Jason Momoa's character. It could just be like Hobbs, period.
Yeah.
It's probably leaning more towards Hobbs.
Yeah.
Which I would be less inclined to flop to.
Yeah.
But if it's
and this fact doesn't tell you the most douchey thing that Vin did, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Which is so. At the end of these movies, they always have like a post-credit scene,
right?
And then, so at the end of Fast 8, they had already made it to like post-production. They showed it to Vin Diesel and the other people for like final review. But like, this is it, we're done. We think we're pretty good. It's all wrapped up in a bow or whatever. And the last scene teased Hobbs and Shaw, and Vin Diesel rejected it, which made them have to go back and take that scene out of the edit. Which means they had to tons of people had to do so much more work. They had to spend so much more money on just taking out. Just because he's like, it's not going to one of his movies.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
That's come on, man.
Yeah. So before we get to the best bits, which we are currently at 7-4, Drew in charge. Drew in the lead.
Love that. Don't
now you're gonna have to re-explain the best bits.
Yeah, I will absolutely re-explain it. But before we get to that, what I want to know is our movie rating.
Yeah,
that's my favorite part.
So this is our Too Fast, Too Furious movie rating. Too Fast as you loved it, Fast as you liked it. Furious is either you didn't like it or you didn't really care that much. And then like if you didn't like it to the point where you're like, my life is less good because of this movie. If you really didn't like
it,
that's a Too Furious. So who wants to go first?
Let's let our guest go first.
So I give it a high fast.
Okay, cool.
Again, like I said, from the critical lens, I can't in good conscience give it a too fast because it does have structural issues. And again, like you said, the romance feels forced and stuff like that. But I also just had so much fun watching it. And I cannot fault it for succeeding in being the kind of movie it's trying to be, even if there are certain things that don't work within it.
I'll give it a Furious. I didn't
Okay.
hate it. I don't even mind it. So I haven't regularly rewatched this one unless someone's like, I want to. And then I've been like, okay. So it's a Furious for me. What about you, CJ?
I'm just gonna give it a straight fast.
All right.
I liked it. It's cool. I'm gonna watch it again. Okay, like I said, I would just want to have something playing in the background, and I turn around like, yeah, I remember that part.
It's a good cooking movie.
It is, apparently, yeah.
So we're at Drew's Best Bits.
All right.
Here's the way it works. Will, me and CJ are in a heated rivalry battle, walkout, draw-out competition. It lasts till the end of the season.
Okay.
Basically,
Is it start end of the season?
We'll reset at the next season.
Okay.
Unless you just want it to last forever.
No. We can reset.
So it seems like a good thing to reset each season, though. So basically, we take turns picking scenes, and so today, right now, for this episode, I'm the scene picker. I'm going to give you 3 scenes, and you're going to pick my quote unquote bits. That's why it's called Drew's Best Bits. And I'll tell you what the qualifying factor is. Each time we do this, it could be like these were the 3 most annoying scenes in the movies, or maybe it's like this was the 3 funniest scenes to me. Three. So we always have a category. And I'll give you 3, and you both are going to try to pick what I'm picking as like my best.
So we're trying to pick what's your favorite of those 3, or what?
Absolutely, yes.
Whatever the qualifier is,
and I'll tell you the qualifier in a second. Now, if you pick correctly, CJ is going to get a point.
Okay.
If you pick incorrectly, I get a point.
You get a point. Okay.
And we're currently at 7-4. Kind of killing it.
Okay.
I'm undefeated at the Quarter Mile Podcast Best Bits. If we're talking 2 seasons, I'm kind of the undefeated chap. It's basically the most important thing in my life. Here are my scenes, though. Here's today. The times that I really enjoyed this movie was when they kind of went back to the basics and got to the action scenes and how it somehow, and then whenever it got back into a car chase scene of some sort, I was like, oh, this feels like a Fast and Furious movie. These are my favorite Furious fights.
Okay.
With the scene. So for the first ones, I liked, it was an opening scene where on one hand you had The Rock fighting Hattie. That was their introduction. And then it was also switching it to the scenes where it was Shaw fighting a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Well, that was when he first was meeting Brixton. And it was just really cool. They spliced this together. So that's scene number 1. Scene number 2 is the interrogation scene. Which starts with them interrogating, but then they play Mick Jagger play, and then it ends with them in a really cool chase scene. That awesome. Yeah. There's a flame.
Where they've got the hooked up to the electric shock.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So, and then scene 3, it almost was like the third act of the movie, but like the Samoa fight.
I say scene 2.
And I'm trying to guess what you pick as your favorite.
Yes, that's the thing.
I say it's scene 2.
I think I'm also going to go with scene 2. I think that's going to be my...
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be scene 2.
You know it's scene 2.
But by the end of Samoa scene, I was like, I have to give it to
It won you over?
I had to. So I literally was right. I had other options.
Yeah.
The entire time I'm going through the movie, I was like, this interrogation scene is best. And like, I even remember at the beginning of the movie being like, I can't remember. I feel like there's a scene at the end that goes on too long. It did go, but like it was beautiful. It was like that bank heist scene in Fast 5, like Italian Job, the helicopter heist. Like, really well. I had
well done.
I had to be like,
David Leitch is a great action director and
so,
knows how to do these elaborate set pieces, and where you've got the helicopter almost like it's chained to the, like swinging around.
Yeah. So sorry, CJ. I liked it, but I had to pick the one that.
All right, you know what? Whatever. He's in the lead.
All right, 9-4 for now. We got other movies. They can change at the top of a hat.
It can change.
That's not the right
top of it.
It can change. It can change. But we are at the end.
The drop.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah,
we did it.
What's going on next week?
We're watching Torque.
Yes,
which I actually love that movie.
Really, I never knew it existed until.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I remember seeing trailers for it and kind of being like, oh, okay. And then I never saw it.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. So I'm very excited about that movie. And just want to thank my baby brother, Will Lasley, for coming out. What do you have going on? Where can they find you? Drop your socials, drop everything.
Will Lasley on Facebook, Otterpaw Studios on YouTube.
Oh, and if anybody is out there while he's doing that, if you want to be featured as a spotlight guest, please, please, please drop it in the email, drop it to Drew Davis, drop it in the message. You can drop it to me, your girl
Yep.
CJ Walton. We're always looking to spotlight you guys out there, like giving props to whoever if you're doing a business or because who did we have last week?
We haven't for the past few weeks.
So we need you guys. We want to spotlight you. Like that's what this.
But we do love encouraging the creatives. Right?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
please,
So,
please, please.
Yeah, so Savage Otter Paws on Instagram.
That's exactly what
It's
it is.
When I look at you, I think Savage Otter. That makes sense. It's just the paws, though.
Right, just the paws. There's stories behind all of that, but yeah, right now I'm rehearsing for a play that's a historical drama, something very, very Fast and Furious. It is a
slow and nice.
Yeah, it is
slow and happy.
It's a true story that's based on an actual piece of British history.
I mean, this
yeah,
Richard Shaw is pretty
fair. I guess that's the closest connection is the fact that he's British. Follow me on the socials for hopeful updates on some of that.
Thank you guys so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love doing this, man. Like anytime.
We'll see you all next week. We're reviewing Torque.
Yes.
And you doing it?
Yes. Don't forget to live your life a quarter mile at a time.